a human being along the way as well. Thank you so much to Adesk, and welcome to the game itself. Vancouver Titans versus Florida Mayhem Lemon. This is going to be a little bit of a doozy, and I'm not sure this one's an easy pred for anyone, really.
Well, at the very least, I care. No, I don't. Well, like, caring means bias.
Wait, no you don't?
Well, like, I care about both teams, but I think Florida care a little bit more about this match because Vancouver Titans are eliminated. And after speaking to DPay even last week about, so what are the big goals this season? What's the mentality like when these matches don't change anything for your trajectory, your destiny? And it's actually just about enjoying yourselves. It's about really performing to the best of your ability so that you either keep the job you have or you make your resume look good for the next team. And it's like you see it on the Vancouver Titans faces, like when they're on camera in their matches, they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun. And I'm sure that's why you're seeing False in more, kind of that weight is lifted off their shoulders almost.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a mercenary attitude, but you could kind of contemplate this as like playing the job market a little bit. Like, I think we've seen some performances from Vancouver Titans players that would either put them in a position to re-sign with the Titans next year or potentially get picked up by another team that might want to do a little bit of a rebuild after lackluster results. Who knows?
Well, here's the starting roster. Let's look at the starting rosters, because there is a surprising note here about the Vancouver Titans. Aztac is starting over Masa.
Okay, Aztac coming in is interesting, but I think it aligns with what we've seen from a couple of teams thus far, Lemon, where they prefer to run the double flex support. The time we have seen Aztac in the Countdown Cup, I believe he came in to play Brigitte, but we know that Aztac has both a mean Ana and a mean Zen, so in a meta where those two are both coming to the fore again, like we saw in the mid-season madness, I think that Aztac could be in a position to perform well here. Interestingly, Mirror has come in to play as well. Notably, in the 3-1 victory over Toronto Defiant in our battle for Canada, it was mostly False who was playing for the Vancouver Titans. 3 of the 4 maps played. Miro did play on Control, and on Lijiang Tower played a little bit of Junker Queen, which had very mixed results, but Assault of Azaya quickly turned that around.
Finally, a meta where False can pop off. Because he first started with the Vancouver Titans kind of like playing a lot of Sigma, and now that it's a Diva-ish meta with a Diva main, that's where you expected to see a lot more False. But Mirror, they really like to play him for Zarya, for Doomfist, and all around, as soon as Mirror came into the lineup, he was starting over False just because the leadership and just his experience, his initiative, he knows how much to take space and how much to give it up. But will they give up any space to their opponent? The Florida Mayhem on the other side, who are 0-2. I know like some of the desks were predicting them to win, but they've only won one map this entire stage so far. It's only been 2 matches, but it was a rough 3-0 loss to the Boston Uprising, and they only took 1 map against the Gladiators, which is not bad.
Plenty of learning opportunities, Lemon. That's what we can say about the 2 maps they've had so far. But I'm going to wrap around back to Anna's current place in the meta. She feels pretty ubiquitous, and the mid-season pickup of RuPaul, I think, has been one of the better that has been made in our Overwatch League season. He's been absolutely destroying on both the Ana and the Brigitte. Excellent kiting on the Brigitte during our Junker Queen meta, where I believe Florida Mayhem got 4th over in Toronto at our showdown. And now on the Ana, RuPaul also hit some nasty sleeps. I think that he has been very much a stealth rookie candidate, even though he hasn't played enough of the season to actually like go for any awards. I do think that RuPaul cannot be underestimated.
Someone that has been underestimated a lot is someone, the main tank of Florida, where I feel like his strongest hero is Winston, and really did try to run it at the very start of this meta, but with the double flex support, you know, the Discord orb, plus the burst that Sombra has with the hacks, someone was not having a good time against the Gladiators when he found out just how not great Winston is this meta. And now when they competed against the Boston Uprising, you saw someone flex a lot more to Zarya, Sigma, maybe even some Hammond every now and then. And Florida really depended on someone to be that flexible tank god, and he's still hoping to step up to that role, but Florida may want to explore kind of bringing on more tanks in the future, but for now, it's all up to someone to lead that charge, and we go to boost on downtown first.
Yeah, they don't just hope that someone will be a flex tank god, they assume someone will be a flex tank god. Only 1 tank on the roster. Florida Mayhem seem almost unique in that. I think it's just themselves and maybe Seoul Dynasty who opted into 1 tank. Obviously, we had more than 1 tank on Washington Justice before the incident. But Florida Mayhem, they've very much built around someone as a singular tank, and looks like he may get a chance here to show off his Winston. I think that Mira might be poorly served by opting into a Winston Mira match. Actually goes over to a Doomfist now, and Doomfist I think is one of our weaker tanks now that the slow has been removed from his seismic slam, but still can deliver a good amount of CC. And importantly as well, he can also knock someone out of his bubble in order to make him easier to hit.
It's interesting. Usually you see Hydron play the Sombra for the Titans. This time it's King. And now Aspire on the Tracer. That's his best hero. So we'll see how they match up. Someone has already been hacked. Focus onto him as Aztec flails away Hydron. And you already have Titans up 5-4, getting even more kills. Florida not showing up in that first fight, but that means first cap for Titans.
Yeah, first cap working out quite well here. Aspire doing a good amount of damage and finding the final blow that was needed to really secure a numbers advantage.
I'm Hydron's on the other team. I'm like, what am I saying? But either way, Hydron usually is on the Sombra. No, it's checkmate. That's what I'm thinking.
All right, Aspire. Now looking to try and... Oh, that's a huge anti coming through. So Marjet is so low, but can the follow-up be found, Lemon?
Yeah, Mara has to be careful of those hacks and someone as well, but they've been good to kind of dial back the aggression, because the burst is what really catches you off guard when you're hacked in. If there was a Discord, that as well, as Mira's hacked again, just constantly chased down by Hydron, and checkmate! Pulse first from Aspire hits RuPaul. And that's Florida showing presence on the point, but Vancouver hoping to flip, and no one's gonna say anything about it.
I mean, Vancouver's smart there to not get overly distracted by some dalliances on the point. Yes, they go for a fight win instead, so that Florida Mayhem wouldn't be able to build up too much off the back of that, and then quickly just retake the point against meager resistance. Mira might guess a... Oh, hello.
Nano someone at the back. Goodbye supports, maybe? Skyripper did nano Aztec, keep him alive as much as possible. And the rest of Florida couldn't really follow up. Now with just Aztec, not wanting to invest the rally there, although it is very winnable for the Titans. 65% plus, Florida gone.
Okay, Florida Mayhem, finally they've got themselves at least a big offensive set piece in the EMP, but Aztec being able to pocket Scarab for that long was... this is risky, 12 HP with the EMP. Mira's going to have to back out of this as soon as possible.
Checkmate counter EMP as Titans were engaging, but they left already, so it's a zero-man EMP from Checkmate, as King just wanted to pre-engage to get any sort of picks to stop Florida from flipping, as it's 90% for Titans. Mira and Meteor Strike goes back towards his, I thought back towards his team because he's very low, but he manages to pound the backline of Florida, who have no healers for the final fight of this downtown round. And it's up to the Florida DPS to just make a miracle happen, but it's not looking very likely. Hydron recalls. He's around the corner to keep contesting. Reinforcements are on their way though. Someone's dead, but Checkmate is there to help out. But this is just a stalled out fight now. Mira can just punch away anyone who comes close, and that'll be the first round for the Vancouver Titans.
Nice bit of short slam tech there as well from Mira to get the instant seismic slam damage on a easily evasive Tracer, who can be difficult to take down with your Doomfist kit. However, I have so many questions about the EMP that was used right there. I mean, Mira had basically already started disengaging with a seismic slam. Maybe Checkmate was hoping and had a little bit of brain ping that there wouldn't be the opportunity to really move away from that. So this is how the first pick was found. I believe they managed to get on top of RuPaul, who's quite low in this. And then the slam on top of this for softening up from the Tracer. Excellent target focus from the Vancouver Titans. And Florida Mayhem, once again, someone's tank roulette has landed on the Sigma, who's not going to be overly mobile here on control, which some might consider a problem for a control map, but it will at least allow for this kind of bunker-esque position on the point when Florida Mayhem do opt to actually go for the engagement.
Yeah, and they're already heading, Florida heading to that right drum side with the shield. Can cover kind of the main choke, and he's going to be the main brawler at the start, can protect Hydron, provide a poking station for Sturmajet and RuPaul too, so it's all poke all day for Florida with some backline pressure with Checkmate. And how do Vancouver Titans flank around all of that with the Tracer Sombra setup? Mira's just gonna try and push someone right into the right into his own team, really. And now someone is starting to get surrounded, but Titans gotta work together on a singular kill, and all of that attention seems to be on someone, at least to displace him, but Mirror takes way too much heat there and gets sniped at range from Florida. And without that tank presence, actually both sides lose their tanks. Kind of left up to the DPS to duel it out. Checkmate gets slapped, so that should be an insta-kill, and it is. So Titans come out ahead off the back of some really good support play.
And it's a pretty poor scenario as well for Florida Mayhem when they sort of gamble on this Sigma chess piece, being able to hold down the point, but actually lose the first cap because someone gets heavily out-rotated and just punched to death by Mirror again and again. And the Doomfist does a really good job of actually bullying out the Sigma because none of Sigma's cooldowns really can stop the damage coming through from a Doomfist unless he hits a big accretion. Now someone swaps over instead onto the D.Va, a little bit better to try and duel against the Doomfist, but also the ability to peel for Sir Marged and RuPaul is imperative.
Oh, RuPaul's about to get hunted. I think you saw the Sleep Dart go by, so Aspire's feeling better, not so good. Someone heads for the peel, and that's a great usage of the D.Va and why you swap to it, having more mobility to actually deal with these backline threats. Mira's been nanoed, and he has the rally from Aztac. And that's all she wrote. Titans untouched this round.
We can still be friends.
Bit of spicy Doom aim there as well. Mirror can't really be touched that much by the defense matrix. Neither the Seismic Slam nor the Rocket Punch itself can be eaten. And Florida Mayhem, now they're heading into the last fight, potentially on Busan, and they still have no ultimates to their name. Hydra needs to spam away, but already the EMP strikes.
See, that early EMP is what King wanted to do last time. And it hits most of Florida. Their team cut in half. Someone slammed down D-Macked, and there's really nothing Florida can do but hope Checkmate. No, Checkmate's still in spot, so someone has to touch. And it's up to Checkmate to do so, but Mirror hopes to keep him there, and yep, no touch. What a swift and decisive map won by the Vancouver Titans.
Outpaced, outcomped, and outcommed Lemon. Florida Mayhem don't seem to be able to deal very well with the target focus that Vancouver Titans bring to the fore. Remember that Mirror actually got first picked here on this map of Busan, but there wasn't enough capacity to peel on the Florida Mayhem because Vancouver Titans, they understood the comp very well. They understood that with the Sigma on the point, there's no way for him to be able to actually project his will beyond his bounds, and they could very easily access the backline. If they could appeal for themselves, there was going to be no peel at all. Vancouver Titans start off strong here, and it seems like they've maintained the kind of aggressive momentum and the confident playstyle that gave them so much power against Toronto.
Well, Florida have less than 10 kills just on that round alone. I think just Titans were really good at taking the initiative and playing off of the back of Mirror's calls. That's been a good first round, as we will go to the next map and find out what's next. So stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, from the break. Check out this replay of Skyrip. Pretty massive stuff.
Really good conflux of the abilities here. The EMP, the Seismic Slam, and the Nade all at once does so much damage. Because remember, the EMP takes away 40% of current health, and then the Slam does 50 damage on top of that. Here's Scarippa's stat card at the end of Busan. 7 biotic grenade kills and 2 deaths on 2 stages. And that's pretty good, Lemon.
I would say so too. I agree. He looks sad on that picture, but I'm sure he was happy after that. Titans starting off pretty well. They're 1-3 at this stage. They beat Toronto, I think, at their very first match, and then lost to the Dallas Fuel and Gladiators. Kind of a rough schedule, but it is what it is. And we saw some flexibility out of someone. You know, anywhere from the Diva to the Winston, some Sigma, trying to counter the opponent or answer to what's been called.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the flexibility from someone might be like stretching them a little bit thin in terms of the focus. I would love to see Florida Mayhem kind of maybe focus in on trying to find a singular identity in this meta, whether it be with the Diva, or with the Zarya, or even, God forbid, with the Winston. The Winston, he's not necessarily bad in this meta, but I think he's very easily countered by a team that enjoys playing a Zenyatta and a Diva. Diva's super good at messing with Winston, and she's pretty ubiquitous in this meta, because she can play both on lateral ground and between high grounds as well. And I expect that we're going to see False play plenty of Diva on our next scenario. We're going over to Paraizu, Lemon, so you could play defensively here as either a Zarya or a Diva, but the high ground's valuable.
Yeah, the last time the Titans were on this map was against the London Spitfire, where Mira was playing it. And he was playing some Doomfist. And it was some Brig on the attack. And they had the double flanker, some pretty cool stuff. Not a lot of success from Florida's side either. They played Paraizu against Boston Uprising, and that was a 3-0 loss. And they continued with kind of the Zarya from someone. That's when he tried to be that flexible, went completely away from the Winston from that first match. And it was Checkmate Genji, Hydron, Sombra, Brigana. And then they really like that Zen from Surmajed on the defense. Seems to be the recipe here.
The Surmajed Zen is very powerful. Like, he's an excellent aimer. Notably, early in the season, we had an infamous stat card of Surmajed's deaths compared to everybody else. He's a little bit of a brawler Zen, and today in our first match we saw Lastro illustrate that the brawler Zen style still does have a place in this meta. You can go a little crazy stupid with the Zen and still extract some value from it, player of the match level value even. As Vancouver Titans are going to be starting off in the attack here, there isn't going to be a Diva instead. They're just going to be trying to force it through with a Zarya instead. This might actually be just a bubble king on his first engage. We'll have to see if it's sticking for him.
He's like, wow, I hit that.
A little bit of, yeah, a little bit of extra ult charge for King as he moves over onto the Tracer now as well. So the Pulse Bomb should be forthcoming rather quickly.
Yeah, Aztec just has to be careful on the Zen on the attack, that as you're kind of approaching this bridge, you don't have full intel on who's hiding in the left corridor, you know, where Bufal is. So Florida could have the drop down on him. So he really has to respect that space. False has to be ready for bubbles for whenever this flank from Florida happens. If they really want to engage first at all, the Titans are being very careful. It could be just up to Aspire getting a random pick too. He has 100 charge, but someone is body blocking very well, and no one else from Florida wants to expose themselves. So it's a bit of a poke fight as Aspire takes a body shot, immediately backs away. King has made his way past the bridge, and Hydron is keeping him marked. Aspire now making his way through the bridge. Hydron wants to keep him right there. Aspire dropped down to half health, but Florida aren't really overextending or getting too eager. They just want to hold their positions. Hydron is picked, and that's an opening for the attack.
Oh, Scarippa uses Exo Boots to jump on up. Someone simply can't survive. The supports didn't have the yellow S to make it happen in Aspire. Oh yes, he's popping off the first pick and potentially the last one as RuPaul is taken down by the headshot of the railgun. And this should be a pretty uncontested cap here for Vancouver Titans. Checkmate, though, is still growing, inexorably closer to that EMP, and Scarippa and Aztec are going to have to be careful about stacking up when going up against this kind of threat.
Yeah, Florida were just almost too patient. They have this double flanker, and I didn't really see much flanking happening besides stopping Titans from going past the bridge. They didn't even care about King when he just double blinked past it. So Florida just definitely can't be scared to initiate with the composition that they have, especially if someone's waiting to bubble something, as Maybe he's just waiting for a good amount of charge to start a fight. For now, it's Florida on the high ground. A hack goes through, and the kill. And a 5 versus 4 for the attack, as Titans just so much depending on the poke of a BAP, a Zen, and the Sojourn, that it's these very slow-going fights.
I feel like a very mistake-heavy pick there onto Aspire. I don't think it was a huge amount of damage that was really going his way, but that's a lot of damage from Samajid onto King. The quick response from the bubble means that Checkmate just will be able to tax the resources of False. Both bubbles have now been used, and Vancouver Titans are still waiting to have their entire team here, Lemon.
Yeah, still 5-on-4 for the defense. And Titans, just based on their rotations through this left side, they can access the high ground that the defense at this kind of green building where Hydron is at is. So now the grab, the trigger's pulled by False. I don't even know who's in it. I mean, Florida aren't even using ults until now. The nano's given to someone to just power their way through the remnants of the Titans, who seem lost on how to dislodge Florida from these power positions.
Yeah, this seems uncharacteristically uncommunicative from a Vancouver Titans. There wasn't really much capacity to actually play like follow-up towards that Graviton Surge. Aztec was distracted in the back by being hacked by Checkmate. And remember, if Aztec and Scaripper actually stack up in order to follow up on one of these ultimates, they're going to get EMP'd by Checkmate, who's still in the background.
Checkmate's trying to get Skyripper and Aztec in it. At least if you're smart, you would, but yeah, the hack didn't go through there. Here's most of the team. Checkmate makes the call. EMP drops, instantly kills Aztec, and the bubble from False to save Aspire, only for a couple of seconds, as he's fragged at range. Florida playing so far back that Titans can't even complete rotations before they're either getting ulted or they're getting picked.
Honestly, I think there's a world there where that's a fight that you need to lose if you're Vancouver Titans. Oh my goodness, the amplification. What is that? What is that, Matrix? What is this? Explain it to me. I need a scientist here, stat.
Oh, that's me. Room decor. We're adding a third wall into the picture.
The feng shui.
Yeah, there's some kind of feng shui is happening, but yeah, that is not it, Chief. So Titans still are losing members all the time. They're getting first blooded. They can't, like I said, they can't complete rotations without getting picked.
I mean, they have a limited window before Checkmate starts to become a huge threat again. They needed to lose that fight to EMP, really, to allow themselves to actually take these more aggressive angles where you can see Scaripper and Aztec actually begin to stack up. The only problem is that when you do start to stack up now, someone can try and find a grab. It's a solo grab.
Yeah, just to kill False and reset his energy yet again, if he even had any energy to begin with. And he couldn't run away or do anything else.
It's a strong choice to make because the main way that you try and combat that if you're Vancouver Titans is either an Immortality Field or a Transcendence, right? And Aztec was down on the ground level, so there was no way for Transcendence to actually attack False, or rather attach to False and give him that healing, and Scaripper couldn't find a way to actually put down the Immortality Field because he was also up on the low ground, had to use Exo Boots to jump up and try and actually give over any healing to begin with. Smart grab from someone.
And Titans are just deciding to play main. Like, maybe they have Aspire on this off angle with the Overclaw, trying to catch the backline of Florida, who is just not there. But someone who is knocking at the door is someone, so Aspire does not want to brawl with that. At least finally Titans get a first blood in their favor this time, but someone is looking for the trades. He's got the nano on his back and tons of help. And you're just going to Transcendence out of here because Titans came in with a lot. That's a pulse onto someone who bubbles it away unaffected. And Titans are seeing some progress, but now an EMP from Checkmate will just really spell defeat in this fight. And Titans not getting much more wind out of that with 30 seconds remaining.
Huge EMP from Checkmate, and that makes sure that False can't escape with energy as well. Yes, there's going to be a Graviton Surge, but finding the place to actually use it is going to be super difficult here, because we're likely going to be seeing Florida Mayhem play a spread around these high grounds. You're going to have to try and go for a solo grab, likely onto RuPaul, just to try and remove a huge amount of that healing early and send Aspire or King to follow it up. A miss on the pulse on there could be critical, as now Hydron is going to be in enemy territory and maybe easily punished, but you've got to touch the cart first.
So the Titans have started overtime. At least King on this Echo can access the background and hopefully get the burst that he needs, but he can't even win it against Checkmate, who got bubbled by someone as a grab from False is thrown just to deal with the backline of Florida. And you're seeing some progress, but this could be over right here and right now. Florida dropped the grab, and that is all she wrote. No Titans, no supports, no heals. It's really only up to False and Aspire versus the 3 or 4 members of Florida with their respawn advantage that they have. Not impossible, but not looking very likely, as Titans will be shut down before B. And maybe an important fight win for Florida because they actually have stakes in the Countdown Cup. They're aiming, in quotations, for a top 6, although not likely at this point.
It's not entirely likely, but also good momentum heading into the playoffs will be important, as the play-ins, I believe, will be played on this patch. So trying to work out what is most effective for you and not randomly dropping games that might make you start to doubt the efficacy of your strategies could be quite important. Also, I'm pleasantly surprised by Azai getting good value out of the bubbles. He's managed to bubble a couple of stickies as well, understanding when the solo grab is at its most appropriate, and also understanding when you can look for that 3-man grab and when that's going to be the big playmaker, and that, like, reading the movement of multiple squishy members of Vancouver Titans. Yes, you managed to catch a couple of immobile supports in there, but also the more mobile and easily escaping flankers of the Vancouver Titans. 3 people got caught in that Graviton Surge, and that put them at such a healing deficit that anyone who survived was not going to be able to deal with the fight afterwards as well. However, now, False on the Sigma is something a little bit different over here on Paizu. We don't see too many of the Dutch scientists wrapping around on this bridge, but it is going to provide quite a difficult bunker position that needs to be busted by the Florida Mayhem. And the question is, does False give up the bridge early to move back to these wraparound high grounds when someone starts to show his face on the Zarya?
At least having the shield from the Sigma just maybe makes your poke heroes, your teammates that are doing all that poke, a sense of security having a shield, so you can present yourself out of cover without worrying about random shots. And Aztac, Skyrippa, Aspire are all going to thank him for that, as Florida now have sensed what the defense have. They go to the Genji this time.
The Winston as well. I kind of like the Winston against the Sigma. He doesn't have many great mitigation tools against this, and of course the Kinetic Grasp and the Shield both don't regard the Tesla Coil at all. There's a huge amount of frontline brawl damage here. So if they can try and cut off False from the healers, things are going to get real dirty real fast. What healers? What healers, Lemon?
I don't know. I didn't see them. Did you? I don't know. Great dash. I was going to say, I don't remember like knowing Hydron as like a Genji player, but man, he's really been flexing and learning how to really play alongside someone. And now this composition fitting to their strengths instead of molding away from it. So Florida once they figured out the comp, this was quick.
Yeah, let's expand the Sabito lore. We've got a little bit of talk time during this cap here. Hydron, no, definitely not a Genji player. For a long time in Contenders, he was actually a Widow one-trick. He was sort of like a Widow substitute for a team called Triumph back in the day. And he only really came in to play maps like Watchpoint Gibraltar or Temple of Anubis. So seeing him excel on the Genji is a little bit weird, but welcome news for a Florida Mayhem who want to not have to have Checkmate play every single hero.
Now the box of victory at the end of B. To keep that in mind, Florida want to equalize the series. How are they going to dive? Because the windows are a little bit tricky to get through if you're a big old monkey. So it's how you can dive kind of this corner high ground where it's a lot more open. Or do you even want to dive? So Titans now swap to the Diva to try and bully out that Winston, but now you're getting bullied by the Sombra, who's going to hack and farm away at you. Florida are making very good progress too. Finally, it hits the corner. This is where your main goal is to take Vancouver Titans off of these high grounds that are surrounding it, because if you ignore it, the cart is going to sail in between all of these enemies. With Florida, make a long rotation to the left side and hope to set up Hydron for success. He's been nanoed, doesn't even have the blade, and I don't think he really needs it. The flankers of Titans made a splash. I mean, they killed RuPaul with a pulse, but I still think Florida come out ahead.
Someone does die here, but it's even more progress on the cart, and this is going to force Vancouver Titans to potentially take a less than ideal fight. You'll just get a little bit of push here if you're Hydron. You still have a dash to try and disengage, so it's a fairly safe engagement to take, and you might be able to force King into a less than ideal position as he tries to at least ameliorate some of the pressure that's building on his team. But the real pressure is coming in the form of these offensive ultimates. The EMP and the Blade both stand ready, but you don't want to combine them because then Scrub can get maximum efficacy out of his Immortality field. If he even gets to put it down, Scrub has been dying early quite a few fights in a row now.
One fight for Florida to win. And it starts with the blade. Hydron gets into position, slices through Aztec. The amplification matrix from Skyrip, but wasn't enough to dissuade him from this move, as King was still getting into position for a flank, but it's Florida that used their ult first and are coming out ahead. Maybe low heals with RuPaul, but all Florida have to do is finish off this fight and don't choke. And it seems that some choking is occurring because the Spire is a slight threat. Only 2 members left of the defense versus the 3 coming up for Florida. But respawn advantage for Vancouver, so they're able to anchor themselves, and Florida got to think twice about engaging without their full 5.
A well-managed last second touch there from Scripper and Aztec as well. The ballet of contesting continues as False is going to be the one to wrap around, and Hydron falling down in the end here. Aztec critically has been able to save this Transcendence, which wasn't popped in haste to contest the car, and now this can be used to try and deal with the Graviton of someone. So what needs to happen here is that someone's Grav, False needs to try and eat the anti that's going to come out of RuPaul to follow up with it. That is the critical thing, because if the anti connects and the healing of a Transcendence can't be delivered, it's curtains for Vancouver Titans.
Oh, Florida feels like they're baiting. I feel like Checkmate is waiting beside the cart to just try and C9 it, but now it's gone significantly further back, and he loses that opportunity as Hydron got dealt with on the Genji early, forces Florida to play more passive. Now he's on the Sojourn, just so he doesn't have to worry about gap closing. He can just try and poke, and Florida hung around a little too long as Titans look to get more staggers, but False doesn't want to go too deep and lose the mech and lose the entire map.
Florida Mayhem suddenly starts to run low on time. Someone's making a very brazen attempt here. What's he doing? He's simply walking, Lemon.
And Titans all they have to do is stand here because Florida ain't going nowhere. Great kills by the flankers of the Titans. Florida only have a minute and a half, and it's just one fight. Just one fight.
Scripper used the amplification matrix at least. That's one less tool that needs to be considered by the Florida Mayhem as Hydron moves on back towards that Genji once more. False has a self-destruct, but as we've discussed before, it's more useful as a I wish to become Mecha Diva again than as an offensive ultimate, especially when losing out on your mech and the defense matrix would potentially be curtains for your easily accessible backline. Checkmate moving in onto Aztec. Oh, that's already forced out the ammo.
Good immortality, almost saved Aztec and just felt safe enough to not use the Transcendence. 2 down for the Titans after the grab was thrown from someone. Meters away from the box of victory. Titans have to be back quick. They'll have a Transcendence to stabilize them, or do you hold this for the EMP? The EMP strikes first, and Aspire strikes even harder. The EMP hacks too. Aztec with the Transcendence too. And False is pretty good. He's chilling. He has a self-destruct if he ever needs it. And who needs anyone else but Aspire with a 3K? And he hopes to reset this energy from someone. How far do they want to go to do that, though? False is so close to losing mech, and he does. And he uses the self-destruct to get back in. That's costly.
It's okay. That's what the self-destruct is for, Lemon. And False has done a really good job here of minimizing the effectiveness of the grab.
Checkmate!
Oh, Mayhem!
I was
not
waiting!
like this!
Why did he decloak? He's trying to hack. Why no decloak? Why no decloak? Why no touch? I'm so confused.
Not like this. Well, 2-0 to the Vancouver Titans, or should we say it's 1 to -1 for the Florida Mayhem.
Then multiple fights for that box of victory. They had many ults to go through. They speed ran. Florida speed ran the point with a really cool dive composition, and then they just didn't get anything done after.
So no touch?
No, I guess not. So that means that Vancouver are on match point, and Florida kind of cared about winning to try and make that top 6. At the very least, they're making play-ins, but I don't know if they can turn this around. Titans are on match point. We'll see you guys after the break.
the tip of the spear, and the follow-up is there.
Rotations deployments, WGS Phoenix winning the fight.
Saved by Aztec drop.
Oh my God.
Even Scale instantly deleted.
Oh my goodness. Are they all playing Switcher?
Turns out happiness prevails. Look at his face. He was smiling just now. And how could you not? Titans are on match point. And that Overwatch did occur, and at some points did not occur when it came to I think the worst C9 I've ever seen. But for some actual gameplay, Aspire's 4K. Beautiful.
And like, Aspire then made the most of seeing a load of people overextend to try and deal with both the Graviton Surge that someone threw somewhere, I'm not entirely sure where it ended up going, and Checkmate CMP, and punishing the over-aggressive positions that Mayhem had to maneuver themselves into to try and extract value from those ultimates, which I think overall might have been slightly misguided, considering that they could have concentrated on the fight on the cart instead, Lemon, given that they got so much early progress. Remember that Mayhem had fights upon fights with the cart essentially one win away from just parking itself in that victory zone.
And I remember the one time when King was the only one contesting the cart when they could have just pushed it. I feel like I'm lacking information on why Florida didn't keep pushing, but here's a replay of my favorite moment of the entire match. The moment not only my brain fell out, but another one. So overtime's about to hit. I didn't really say anything because Checkmate is chilling. There he is, right? He's in touch range. He touches nothing, and Titans win. Thoughts?
Yeah, and Samaje was like engaging with the sound barrier here as well to try and allow for Checkmate to battle for a little bit longer on the cart after he touched it, but sometimes you simply don't, Lemon. Sometimes you just do not. And the thing is, that's sort of like inversely profitable in terms of the mentals, right? Like Vancouver Titans, that is a massive laugh out loud moment. We're having a hoot, they're having a great time. Meanwhile, for Florida Mayhem, it is a bit of a mega tilter, considering that you had done so well in the early Paizu that for it to be thrown away in those last seconds, even though overall the point B attack was lackluster, really does leave a stain on the mental. However, heading into map 3, Lemon, it's going to be Circuit Royale.
It doesn't help that every time Florida tried to do literally anything, they got picked. I think they struggled on rotations on that map in particular. That's not the first time we've casted Florida just not feeling decisive on where they were going on that point B. But a map, hopefully both these teams do know, is Circuit Royale. And we get to see maybe some Hydron versus King Widow action. And depending on if they hit shots, Overwatch will be occurring.
In terms of my expectations here, I expect False to be a bit of a significant Sigma diff, to be honest. False has been a good Sigma for as long as I can remember. We cast a bunch of him on American Tornado in the off-tank role, where he had replaced Kaluj after Kaluj went to Maryville to fulfill some collegiate team spots. Whereas someone, like we've said before, he's having to play every single tank for Florida Mayhem. And the Sigma generally isn't a huge part of the former main tank skill set, and might require a touch more direct support from the Florida Mayhem in order to really extract a good amount of value from this hero.
So many bodies in that door, and Hydron doesn't hit a single one. That's former Widow one-trick Hydron, I'll have you know. Now he's actually quite flexible. Even learning some Tracer too, and I think that's becoming one of his biggest strengths. But for now, Florida just have to rely on the poke at range, probably setting up on the bridge. Checkmate is trying to go unnoticed, and now has to quickly blink back to the loving arms of someone who is at least presenting himself on the card to keep it contested, and that's where the poke's doing kind of nice. That shot misses. Now there's a shield in the way, so Titans might want to wait a second. Nope, they're gonna keep poking. They're gonna keep looking at the Widow in the eye.
Yeah, Aztec overextending just a touch just there on a super wide angle, and someone can punish that. Remember that when it comes to the exchange of shield pressure here, Vancouver Titans are going to be very much in the lead because they have both a Sojourn and a Hanzo who can pretty freely spam away on someone's shield compared to a Tracer and a Widowmaker who are rarely going to be shooting shields because they shoot heads instead.
I feel like Florida are doing to Titans what Titans did to them on Parisu, when it was just pick after pick and a lot of waiting as Titans are trying to leave spawn. Florida could be creeping around this corner. Ooh, the flick doesn't hit either. And it's up to False to just... Actually, Titans don't have a hero that has any backline pressure. It's all picks all day for Titans, which they're lacking.
I got to admit, I had my doubts about someone Sigma coming into this, comparing it to False, but he's doing a really good job of tempting people into these sightlines of Hydra. No headshot connection this time, and so someone's going to back away with a broken shield and cede away a touch more ground to the Vancouver Titans. You can only give away so much ground though, Lemon, because then you get into a position where Scareppa can force a fight with the amplification matrix when you're at your most vulnerable.
Just one kill for the Titans. Just one of them. There it is! There it is! Let's go, King! And now Titans use the immortality just to heal themselves up, stay safe so they can round the corner. And now they head towards the end of point A. Florida coming up to some ultimate, starts with the Amp Matrix as soon as Titans move down the lane. That's a charged up rock. Skyripper could just not handle. Now Titans trying to use the cover of the statue to see as Florida are pushing up if they can get to have any response at all. But King stayed there a little too long. And he really committed to try and go for a trade, but gets nothing.
Yeah, I think that False went a little bit quirky with his positioning there as well, and ended up getting picked off quite easily. A double damage rock through the amplification matrix also easily slew a member of a Vancouver Titans offense. King's not been doing a huge amount of damage thus far, still building up towards this Dragon Strike when against these more square targets like the Sigma and the Zenyatta, it should be relatively easy for King to at least be hitting these body shots. That's a lovely stick, but good mitigation.
All right, we need to see some kills. And it's Aspire with the overclock. Finds one. Hydron's removed. Tries to turn and burn on checkmate. And just completely is ignoring this Tracer. Just wants to dislodge someone. Because that is the last anchor that this boat needs to hold on to point A. And Titans now get hit by a grab flux from someone. As Surma Jet pushes forward with the Transcendence. Just to show some love and support for someone. And Checkmate goes and cleans up all the kills, so Florida continue to hold, and it's about 30 seconds left for Titans.
My counter might be off. I'm not a smart man, Lemon, but I think that someone at the moment is 2-1 on fluxes with False and is almost caught up to him when it comes to ult charge again. Florida Mayhem, their defense here has been rock solid, and with the additional information here granted by the infra sites, it's going to be so difficult for Vancouver Titans to approach again.
It's only been 2 kills for the Titans. And it will continue to maybe be that way. Oh, Aspire! I'm waiting to see Aspire. Someone has a touch. Aztec, he's praying. The piece has been found. Tranquility, as he hopes to just cap A while no one's looking. Florida can't even do anything about it because Aspire is just going to throw his whole team to the backpack, and Titans will be capping A.
Oh my goodness. We've seen weird matchups before, but this one's just drinking Whack-A-Zaid from a clown shoe. this is madness.
That's a weird shoey.
The transcend, yeah, that's the weirdest shoey you can have. And well, the Transcendence touch, it was well devised by the Vancouver Titans. It was simply what was required. And Aztec manages to zoom on past a Florida Mayhem, run the gauntlet, touch the cart, and then Florida Mayhem kind of are caught in this weird crunch scenario where they have to decide a direction to fight in, and they simply lose their duels.
Okay, Checkmate just like Goomba stomping False. Just hoping to give this pulse bomb to someone important. Titans have a grab flux. Maybe worried about Surma Jet's Transcendence and hoping to send King to kill him and remove that possibility. As for now, Titans get hit by a grab flux from someone first, and there's no support ultimates. Doesn't seem to have left a big enough dent as Florida are actually the ones losing this fight. False has a bigger grab flux. Seems like the tanks are focusing each other down. Transcendence from Surma Jet to provide a point of stabilization for Florida, as Aspire can't seem to pierce through all of that healing yet. Just body shots for the guy. And Titans now losing frontline now that Skyrip is down, and Florida send Vancouver away.
It was not cheap for Florida Mayhem, however. The usage of that Transcendence may have some knock-on effect as Aztec is about to come up on his own. And remember that Aztec can pretty much use this freely for like pushing damage, because they're not going to have to deal with like a Dragon Blade or an Overclock. They're basically just dealing with the Gravitic Flux. And what was that? That was disgusting!
Disgusting. It was murdered. We are in Spooky Month, so...
Murder in my Overwatch League?
Oh boy.
It's more likely than you think.
Aztec is really trying to ego check Hydra. It's just, I don't know who's going to beam the other first. Titans left to 20 seconds. Are they going to make the miracle push at the last second? They have the ults to do so. It's the Matrix first from Florida, and they spray down False. You don't have any tanks. So Aztec is just trying to heal the DPS and hope that they get the responding picks. You get the immortality of RuPaul out of the picture, and Matrix is summoned by Skyripa. There's really no one to poke Florida rounding the corner, trying to avoid looking at it in the eye. Someone unleashes the grab flux. Aspire tries to jump out of it, but just jumps into bullets. And Florida have held Titans short of B. And I am just falling out of my seat with excitement.
At the beginning of this map, I talked about how someone had been playing so many different tanks that I expected False to have a clear differentiator here. As a former professional off-tank, back when that word meant something. We used to be a country, Lemon. Back when that word meant something. But right now, someone is 18 elims, 11 final blows, and 1 death. He's been doing such a good job of rotating his cooldowns to survive properly. And and RuPaul and Sir Marjet have been supporting someone incredibly well in that. And I think that someone's been hitting the critical accretions as well to make sure that he's always got an advantage in the duel against False. This is kind of an amazing performance from someone who I thought was mostly going to be playing the Winston to try and extract value in a map where the Sigma is demanded. And if you don't have the Sigma, then Circuit Royale can sometimes just be a map that you've got to throw in the bin.
Hello. At least it's a big mental comeback for Florida too, after how Parisu ended. The fact that they just looked dominant through all of that. I mean, Titans barely had any kills until the very last, overtime fight for point A. Someone has some good dodges, kind of is just throwing bodies into checkmate so he can finish them off. And yeah, it was an important interaction of just both grab fluxes being exchanged, but someone getting more value out of his.
Florida Mayhem now. All they have to do is match the distance, and, well, we've seen this before, right? Florida Mayhem had a pretty good defense, I'm very easy. And in the end, Fate decided to take things into their own hands. But if Hydron can continue to be a menace on the Widowmaker, and as hot as the hand is coming in, this should be a fairly swift take for the Florida Mayhem.
At least having an assassin like Checkmate on the Genji, you can go and add pressure if targets are low. If Hydron's only hitting body shots, like Checkmate can go and follow up and maybe finish off those kills. Oh, I saw Hydron lining up the shot. If King was going to continue up those stairs, that was not going to be good. But Florida, some good progress so far. False hoping to hold the corner. And he's already been overwhelmed. He's been stunned by an accretion. That's slowly losing out to someone. But now that King wins out 2 kills, he just removes 3 people by himself. Okay, I'm a pocket king.
I'll be taking that crown back, thank you very much. And once again, I have to point out the difference in shield damage that's going to be available now. Although with Hydron swapping over to the Sojourn instead of a Widowmaker, it's going to be less distinct. Checkmate's going to provide a good amount of brawling burst damage if he can get on top of False. But Checkmate also isn't going to have much in the way of counterplay if he gets targeted by an accretion. You can either dash to try and dodge it. If you can't dodge that, whether it's Widow or Sojourn, Hydron still hits those heads.
That's a 5-on-4, so Florida really want to get trucking. They've already set up Checkmate on that right side to pressure out King, and he's still hanging around. He's getting healed. Titans aren't giving up despite False kind of being asleep, so Florida are taking more real estate. That's an important punish that Titans got onto Checkmate too, and Hydron? King is on it today.
King is on it, Aztec too. It's very weird that, like, at 1 HP, Checkmate decided not to dash to his supports, but instead to dash into melee range of the Zenyatta. Quite a curious decision, but says a lot about society. Vancouver Titans now. 2-0 still, and half the time bank of Florida Mayhem has slowly ebbed away. The question is, where do you wish to put this nano boost? Do you want to wait for the next 30% of Checkmate's blade, or do you want to try and maybe manhandle yourself a win in the tank duel by giving over that additional damage reduction and damage output to someone who thus far has been performing super well in the duel?
Well, that's a good Dragon Strike right at the corner. As, thanks, False. I was lining that up, and you lifted them out of it. But all the kills are going in the way of the attack, but King was a threat finally dealt with. So we're left with Florida trying to still achieve point A. Around the corner is False and Aztec, and Aspire up on the high ground. So Florida, if they can just get one more pick, and a Hydra gets his overclock shut down. That's why you don't mess with Aztec. Oh, he's good.
Critical pick there from Aztec. Remember, one of the lesser seen additions to the Vancouver Titans this season, but his Zen still is dangerous. We've mostly been seeing Marsa, but the lean into the double flexes serve Vancouver Titans well in this matchup. Florida Mayhem, they're coming in loaded for bear when it comes to offensive opportunities, and there's not that much that can really shut down the Blade. The Immo field, if that can be forced out first, Checkmate should have an easy landing when it comes to the Blade.
Man, Titans are just so good at playing passive and wasting time, and someone wants to physically remove them, or maybe not. Maybe that didn't occur. Checkmate, now Blades, Transcendence from Sir Majed. We're just gonna out-ult them. That's how we win the fight. Florida about to cap A, and any staggers here are massive.
I love the target focus there from Florida Mayhem as well. They actually use the Blade from Checkmate to try and force out a defensive immortality field on the group of squishies that's presented by the Vancouver Titans. Then they about face, and they make sure that False, who's isolated on the cart with no more resources to try and help him, can be easily cut through. And the rest of Vancouver Titans, they don't have the pushing power to actually bring themselves back onto the objective, and that guarantees Florida Mayhem the chance to attack point B with 2.5 minutes. It was, however, an expensive fight, and Florida Mayhem are going to be wanting for resources with the exception of that nano boost. Last time it went on to Checkmate, and he was shut down by a headshot from King.
Oh, Checkmate pressuring out King, gets the dash reset. The flex in case anyone noticed. Titans don't seem to be too worried. False's shield is now broken. He has to back away. He's half HP. Titans just waiting to build those support ultimates. Florida meters away from the box of victory to keep themselves up in the series. Not again. Please, I'm begging you, someone touch a cart. Please.
That's going to be real difficult when you've got a tank with no mobility and a bunch of snipers on your team, but credit in this case goes to someone. False was making the move to contest the cart, and he managed to start body blocking, and while he was body blocking, got a point blank accretion as well. That reset False's momentum, stunned him for a while, and made it impossible to get past the bodyguard of the Florida Mayhem. In the end, I'm truly impressed with what someone managed to achieve on the Sigma, but is it something that Vancouver Titans are going to have to go up against again? You know that San Francisco Shock, they've been forcing the Sigma on a bunch of maps to just try and make the most of what Kaluj is good at. Florida Mayhem, I don't know if they're prepared to try and do the same.
Well, King is the one who impressed me on the other side, and we'll see you guys on the other side of this break to see if Florida can keep it going.
Florida Mayhem are showing us a multitude of different looks, and someone is helming all of them. This guy can do anything.
What? Someone already... Sorry? Excuse me? That's not allowed. Is he in a luge? What is this? Cool runnings? Sorry? Someone just slurped up proper on the way through. There's like someone just bolted a bloody hyper-powered Dyson to the front of him as he charges through the middle of the map. I mean, someone has to yeet the spaghetti. Someone was just able to follow up, clean him up indeed. Someone going to flatten Yurio here, and Dallas Fuel get absolutely Goomer stomped in this first fight. Someone trying to clear a few mines. He's very, very low, but he catches Violet still somehow.
When it comes to rookies, I think someone is someone that we're really going to have to start heavily considering as one of the best.
Man, winning must feel real good when someone's on your team. The energy he brings, but not only that, look at the stats he brings with him too.
Ooh, someone sizzling to someone Sigma. Only 4 deaths on the entirety of Circuit Royale Lemon, and someone was under so much pressure as well when it came to rotating those defensive cooldowns. His shield was taking both Hanzo damage and Sojourn damage, and the Sojourn loves to hit that shield to charge up her rails as quickly as possible, and it meant that Foal should have been in a position to really bully out someone, but the proper rotation of the kinetic grasp through the accretion as well also led to more accretion kills, 7 of them in fact on Circuit Royale. And I began that map thinking that someone was probably going to be at a disadvantage compared to Foals. How wrong I was.
Well, every reverse sweep starts with an 0-2 count. Florida are reaching towards the closet for that brew, but it stays closed for now. All that matters on how this push map is going to go. And they're going to need some extra help, so they've recruited Animo. The first time we've seen him this stage. Wonder what he's up to. Some Lucio, maybe?
He's alive. Animo's alive.
Put the milk cartons
away.
away.
Lucio. Maybe a touch of Brigitte, but honestly, I doubt it. We could be up for some Florida Mayhem shenanigans here. They are one of the teams that have been most likely to go full quirky mode, like they did on some Dorados with a pharmacy combo back in the day. That was actually during Stage 3, I think, when Jotes was at its apex, and they had Animo playing a bit of Mercy. However, I think this is likely going to be the Lucio. Push is such a fast game mode where you have to try and keep up with the bot, which moves at regular player walking pace, that the Lucio can bring a lot to the table, especially allowing you to set up fights in optimal areas where you want to be trying to stop the barricade or the bot at certain zones where you can control the high ground and have yourself a preferential battle.
Both these teams, maybe this isn't their preferential map. Both these teams are 0-1, I believe, on Coliseo. But when it comes to Florida, they had a really solid showing against the Gladiators. It was a 119 to 117 loss for them, running some dive. And you know how much Winston gets blown up. On the side of the Titans, they lost this to London Spitfires 61 to 59, another close one. And it was kind of an interesting comp with the Mirrorissa, as we call it. The Lucio, Bab, and May. Orisa May, question mark. So obviously as this series goes on, both these teams have kind of found their strengths. So we'll see if they return to the old tried and true strats.
I mean, Coliseo is a particularly good map for May, at least, because a lot of the high grounds are actually perfect height for a May wall boost, which can confer some value or some vertical mobility onto your tank where maybe you might not expect some. However, I don't see any May rolling out here. And someone, I wouldn't be too surprised to see him continue to play the Winston here, given that it is probably his best hero. Someone's Winston is actually kind of legend here, to be honest. He's starting to catch up with other Winstons in terms of the overall value generated, especially considering Florida Mayhem. The executions they've had on the dives, I think, have been pretty strong. When you look at someone's player cam, he do be yapping. He do be getting those words per minute out. And he is calling the dives pretty succinctly.
At least you have the double flanker from Florida along with this dive. It's already been initiated. They blow up Aztec immediately. And Titans already have to head for the hills. King overstayed his welcome, kind of stayed in the middle of the lane, got shot from multiple angles. And Florida continue to snowball this, looking for more kills. They even kill Skyrippa. And they'll reset False's energy, whatever he has left. And that's a good start for Florida.
So we talked about yapping and the execution, and credit to our observers there, we saw the really wide angle of the crunch that we needed. 4 members of Florida Mayhem all played around the outside, trying to soften up Vancouver Titans and kind of bait them in, so that someone from his obscure position could dive in and get maximum cleave on the Vancouver Titans who had kind of, they'd huddled up for warmth and defense.
Well, Titans are trying to huddle up right now. They barely dodged the dive. Both bubbles delivered from Pulse, and when you see both bubbles from Azaria, those are critical cooldowns, and you want to engage even more after that. Taking off King is good. He's 0-2 right now. Hasn't had much of a splash yet. Florida continue to ruin the Titans. Still looking for more picks in the cart. A steady progress, and it's Hydron that's on it, so you can have your supports of Florida involved in the fight at all times. Titans now on the bridge can get the drop down if Florida are not careful. And I'm expecting this Nano to be unleashed. They give it to someone, and he goes in even deeper. Hydron throws the pulse, and that kills Aztec. Titans haven't had any room to breathe yet.
Absolutely zero. Foles here. He's going to get solo primaled. I've had enough of you and your energy. Remove yourself from Colosseo. Oh, False might have to consider swapping D.Va here. He might have to give up the 76% ult charge or whatever he's got towards the Graviton Surge because they need a D.Va to bully someone. They can't let him run free, and honestly, False, Vizaya might just be too slow. Someone's leaving him behind. Animo gets stuck, and that at least is an opening delivered by King, but in the end, the checkpoint has been gained, Lemon. Florida got what they wanted.
Yeah, Florida get there, and because they decide to leave this fight to recontest this, Titans won't be able to pass a neutral point unless they win the fight. Titans got left behind. Skyripper got left behind as Florida send their double flankers for the kill, not getting anything yet. As Titans, now that those flankers are gone, take the time to start and engage, waiting to see where Florida are. Maybe looking to focus someone as it's a solo EMP from Checkmate on the Skyripper. Still hasn't been able to kill him yet. Titans have backed away, they started providing bubbles, and they've refocused their attention on the front line of Florida and pick off someone, and that loses a lot of the initiation power that Florida had.
Vancouver Titans are doing a good job of sending False pretty far forward, knowing that the capacity to punish him without a Zenyatta and without a counter Zarya is going to be pretty bad. And it means that someone has to take these incredibly long leaps to try and actually take part in these dives. That's why we see things like the solo push and the solo EMP onto Viana, because the rest of Vancouver Titans can't stopping the advance.
Overclock from Aspire. Everyone from Florida is just running. Unfortunately, not able to get away is Animo. Florida did take a lot of damage, but just losing one is not the end of the world. That means RuPaul should be able to work up towards a Nano, and that could be the win condition for Florida, giving that to someone. But Aspire was still charging up off of the Winston bubble and able to find the finishing blow on the Checkmate, and no DPS for Florida. Yeah, I guess you're still gonna Nano someone. You don't want to get totally rolled, but you commit the grab just to trade out with that ultimate. That's maybe a W in the Titans' eyes.
Oh yeah, that's a huge W to get rid of someone in that Nano. If he'd taken out either Skyripper or Aztec, a final fight on top of this checkpoint could have been viable for the Florida Mayhem. But now instead, they're going to be able to get some of this bonus distance as well, providing Checkmate doesn't go in for a major contest, and every single centimeter they get is worth so much now.
Florida couldn't contest before the lead swap, but they do sound barrier engage. Someone got slapped and bursted. Every shot from Aspire delivered with love and care. Titans, at least they have a tank, so they can just try and lay down the red carpet down this bridge. And the bot started leaving. Good thing that they look at the objective.
Eventually, Lemon. Eventually. False at the moment, isolated. There's a Discord orb onto someone, which is going to make things slightly difficult, but of course it does have a primal rage if bad weather do be inclement upon him. Even more push now going to be achieved by the Vancouver Titans as King looks for an early pulse bomb.
Pulse delivered to no one. And speaking of no one, there's no supports for Florida. So Titans could be extending this, but okay, there's some trades coming in the Titans' way. They're still pushing. It's 3v3 as well, as someone's primal is now out of the picture. He lays the bubble just so Aspire can get any random shots down lane. Someone jumps past, deals with Skyrip, a great follow-up from Hydron, as someone even dives out. He's still getting harassed by King's Tracer, but manages to live.
I mean, Vancouver Titans knew that was going to be a lost fight, right? Like, they're right next to Florida Mayhem spawn, but they got the additional distance out of it, and that's what matters the most. Because now Florida Mayhem, they have to win 2 or maybe 3 fights in a row in order to actually be able to equal or surpass the distance gained. And Vancouver Titans were getting forward spawns that entire time as well. Checkmate has an EMP that's ready to be set up here, likely in conjunction with the Nano Winston. False is going to have to be on it when it comes to these bubbles. That's an interrupted slide.
Oh, what a good bubble!
No way.
2 bubbles for Aspire as someone just is happily in his own bubble. Someone has slept. Surely he's dead now. Even after Checkmate's EMP, Florida feels like they're on the back foot of this one. Because here comes Aspire and his overclock.
Recharging.
And Titans
I don't
get
know
to
how
continue.
Aspire. How did he manage to do a quick 90-degree flick and take out Hydron? That was going to be the real linchpin of the dive and help to burn through his bubbles that False was going to be offering. Like someone, he does a lot of damage while he's nanoed, but not enough to really burn through his eye bubbles. It's still flat DPS that comes from the Winston. Now Hydron looking to try and turn things around with a well-placed Pulse, but remember that False can mitigate them so much more easily than someone can because of projected bubbles.
3.5 minutes left, and Titans at least a 30-meter lead at 94. They can just really keep Florida at this point, but Aztec's Transcendence is forced out from the Hydron pressure, and he just gives the Pulse Bomb at Skyripper right after. King tries to do the same thing, misses unfortunately for him, as RuPaul tries to go back towards someone to have some point of security. The grab is thrown from Falls, as Florida managed to survive through most of it. Animo can't give a sound barrier when he's dead, as someone at least keeps himself alive with the Primal, hopes to backhand King, and he doesn't want to mess with the Primal anyway. Titans just can't seem to get any progress at this point, and someone is still alive, and King is slept.
Yep, quick recall though, saved by the bubble, but unfortunately he's been placed back into the hellscape of war. False does have energy to work with, but no friends to try and share it with, and the bot should be back going towards Florida Mayhem's barricade any moment now. However, what value can really be extracted now from this Nano? It seems like Vancouver Titans have managed to find a good way of saving False's bubbles when they track that the Nano is available in order to just completely mitigate someone. And remember, he can also be controlled via sleeps and via Zenyatta's kicks as well.
See the Titans, or Florida trying to get a push going. It is contested on the top of that bridge, as Florida have to dislodge them by force. The Nano to someone deals with Aspire, a big threat when it comes to the damage, and Florida not wanting to really go after the support, so they'll just get at least a checkpoint, see if they can reestablish themselves on the bridge, and they caught False sleeping. They go after the supports while he's occupied, and you reset False's energy, not before losing Animo. Not a huge deal. But Florida were trying to push the bot, and King was trying to push it the other way.
No
and
way.
King kills RuPaul, so you have no supports if you're Florida.
Oh, there's no way that RuPaul gets picked there, and King managed to steal the bot away as well. Like you said, the objective focus from Vancouver Titans here could be absolutely imperative. Only 1 minute and 19 seconds left. Florida Mayhem can take this engagement, but they don't have the healing to make it happen, and Vancouver Titans, they can simply outpace the bot, and it's slow push forwards. I think this is the right thing to do here for Mayhem. Leave their most escapable characters on the bot, pushing it forward, and then when they have 5, take an early engage.
Oh. They Titans thought they were going back to the neutral point, but Florida wrapped back around, caught them completely off guard with the EMP. And it's already a 5 versus 3. Winning this fight for Florida could mean a lead change in the last minute of play, and Titans want to contest that. But now False is getting overwhelmed. Florida timed their dive so well, and they're so good at realizing the cooldowns that Titans have used and executing afterwards. Hydron misses the pulse, but killing Skyripper is massive. Aztec will have to use the Transcendence to provide some amount of healing, if he can even connect with his teammates, because he was getting primaled for a second. The lead goes to Florida as they reach 112. They don't even have to go any further.
Someone did a really good job there as well of cutting off False with his bubble, making sure that none of that healing could come through, so there was no real way to save False when things started to get out of hand. A lead has been gained by Florida Mayhem, and only 10 seconds remain. If Vancouver want to end this here, they need to play perfectly.
And Titans are going to have to win multiple fights, not only just perfectly. At least they're on the bot. Overtime has started, as Spire has the overclock. He's looking for targets, and Florida are running away from this ultimate. And as soon as he's gone, they counter-engage. Someone is in the back, but they all get blown up, as I'm sure Florida were in the middle of running away from Aspire, so some disconnects with Florida happened, but that means Titans are still in the bot, and they still have a chance.
The question is, how many fights do Florida Mayhem wish to try and take to tax this approach from the Vancouver Titans? They should be able to get at least 2. 1 in the neutral area of a Coliseum, and then 1 once the barricade has actually been touched. But they might be able to win this first one if they can try and prank False's Graviton Surge, which is going to be the main playmaking tool of Vancouver. Ideally, you want to try and catch both RuPaul and Animo into that, but if Aztec is taken out first, things get real bad.
Oh, yeah, Aztec was 1 HP. I can't believe Checkmate didn't get that, but he'll be back with an EMP. That'll be a guarantee, perhaps. False throws the grab only to someone, and both tanks are gone. 4v4, Checkmate EMP, instantly kills Skyripa. Very limited heals available for the Titans, who, remember, have to play perfectly and need probably a fight or 2 to get to the 120-meter mark, which is up the bend and on the high ground. Florida, though, are missing some people as well. I think they have at least 4 members there, and they have slightly closer respawns. Aztec forced to use the Transcendence after Hydron's pressure was too much. He's just anchoring the cart, or the bot, to make sure overtime is still going. False or Skyripa have to be next. Now Skyripa's hacked, and he's dead soon, and False could not peel in time. The sound barrier of the overtime goes away. Every reverse sweep starts with an 0-2, and Florida are on their way there. We're going to Game 5.
The Siren Song of Control, it beckons, Lemon. And Florida Mayhem, they perfectly handle that last fight. In fact, they give away a little bit more push on the bot every now and then as well, knowing that Vancouver Titans, they're coming back from long spawns. The bot hasn't moved past the checkpoint, and so they're spawning an entire map away, and they're not fast enough to really try and make this happen. However, someone, for me, really managed to get so much value there by continuously cutting False off from the Ana heals, using those Winston bubbles, and also forcing False to use suboptimal grabs to try and shut down the Nano Winston, when, in actuality, the main threat was already in the backline, and it was Checkmate with an EMP ready to take down both Skyripa and Aztec.
Well, Florida proved that the dive is not out of the meta, according to them. It works out on Coliseo. We're going to break, and when we get back, it'll be a Game 5 control to decide. Are you not entertained? Get your brooms out. There's potential that Florida could reverse sweep here. It all comes down to Lijiang Tower, our final map. Titans, I know happiness was supposed to prevail, but I'm not seeing no smiles after how this series has boiled down.
So no smiles? Mira coming in for false, and he's bringing in the substitute smile to reinvigorate the Titans. And I want to drag myself back to a comment that I made earlier. After Parizu, I said that the lack of touch from Checkmate would have been a real bit of mental booming for Florida Mayhem, but credit to Gumba and McGravy, they appear to have straightened them out pretty well when it comes to the mentality. Florida Mayhem, after that lacking of touch, what should have been, in my opinion, probably a map for Mayhem, they managed to turn this around and really dig their heels in this series. We could be facing reverse sweep here, and it all comes down to our fifth map, but our second control map. I think it's going to be Lijiang Tower, Lemon.
Yeah, and the Vancouver Titans successful on this map before against the Toronto Defiant specifically, running behind Mira, Zarya, even some Junker Queen at some point. A lot of King Genji, Aspire flexing between Tracer and Sojourn, and at the time it was Lucio Ana because, you know, Masa was playing, so I wonder how that strat is going to change with Aztec in the lineup. And Florida struggled on this map against the LA Gladiators, so understandable, have a nice day situation. They ran a lot of dive against them.
Animo remains in. He do still be living. He is on the Florida Mayhem roster and being put to his best use, apparently, playing a little bit of the dive supportive Lucio. And this means that someone could stick on the Winston as well. And while the Lucio is not mandatory for the Winston, it does allow for you to have some quite relentless forward pressure onto less mobile support lines that you've come to expect from the Vancouver Titans, especially when Masa isn't in. And there's a lovely little pause.
They're laughing. Who dropped the mouse? Skyrip is on the floor.
Gone. Sorry guys, I dropped my mouse.
Someone had to crack a joke before the map started. There was way too much serious faces for the mom issue. Okay. Not sure what that's all about. That was written in game, by the way. There's no assumption. They wrote that.
Yeah, he's been told to clean up all the spaghetti that got dropped. Mamma mia, Scarippa. Mamma mia.
What's about to unpause? Mom issue aside. So we go to Gardens.
Yeah, we've sorted out the mom issue, and on Gardens, this is where you're likely going to be seeing the Winston. It's a little bit less common, especially on Control Center, but Gardens has always been one of those areas where Winston thrives because he can just close the distance so well, and he can use the central advertisement as excellent rotating cover. Someone doesn't even bother to take the TP on rollout, but Mira here on the Doomfist is interesting because he can very easily control the movement of someone and try and make him overextend if he's done. Never mind.
I bet he'd love to do a lot if he wasn't hacked. I bet he could use his abilities if he could. Also, Checkmate just killing King while he's in the sky. The supports from Titans on fire. Everything is fine, .jpg. Checkmate also farmed a lot of ult charge there. I like that Aztec's on the Brig, so you can at least try to protect yourself from the dives.
Yeah, you can also try and kite out the dives as well by using the Shield Bash with the increased distance that it gives you now on Overwatch 2 compared to Overwatch 1. It means you can create some good distance from the Winston. Not as permanently, however, because he has a speed boost from Animo, and Mira got thoroughly bullied in that. Remember that Checkmate can gather so much information for free here on when Mira wants to set up, and that makes his engagements a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, if all those hacks keep focusing Mira, he's not going to have a fun time. Either is Aspire catching strays. 5 versus 4 for Florida. Someone has to be careful. He just got antied as Mira is trying to make his way to the back. He does. He gets slapped. He's getting messed up, and someone's taking a nap. But he's nanoed, and he's ready to brawl. And Aztec wanted to brawl, but he's dead. So you can't do that no more. Florida with back-to-back fights.
Now, such a critical time for Checkmate to hit the hack as well on Mira midway through the Seismic Slam, because not only does it deny the damage on anyone who would have been caught in the AoE, but it also denies the overshield, or rather the overhealth that gets given to the Doomfist when he hits those abilities. Checkmate's essentially done double in terms of the ultimate charge compared to King, and his EMP might not be expected from the Vancouver Titans if it comes with good pace.
Titans need the point back, but they got EMP by Checkmate. Only Skyripper was affected, and he's deleted. So, Florida, not much they really need to do. You know, losing RuPaul kind of sucks, but he'll be able to get back, and this has been flawless by Florida so far.
And this also means that now Aspire is in a kind of a hostage situation where it's going to be an attempt to chase him down, but the locomotion is solid from the Vancouver Titans. Tracer getting out of his life. RuPaul is going to be able to pretty quickly rejoin his team as Vancouver Titans once more are going to try and make the Doomfist composition work. A different path this time from Mira to try and claim space a touch more aggressively and force Florida Mayhem to fight in their own turf.
Nano from Skyripper to Mirror. Aztec with the rally, that's gone too. Checkmate just assassinated the Titans backline before they could even do anything back. And we're at 98%. Titans need to pull a miracle out of their hats like a rabbit, and it's up to Mirror. And he is dealing with so much already. The sleeps, the hacks. They really thought the Doomfist was going to be the Winston counter, something to go and pressure the backline, but it's really Florida who are pounding Titans into the dirt.
Oh, 200 HP on an Ana requires 5 perfect 40 damage hits from the Winston juggle and 5 perfect damage hits we saw from someone. An excellent juggle there. Beautiful primal mechanics, but overall, Florida Mayhem, it's all about the pace here. They really just went all in on their backline races, including RuPaul actually just diving in with the sound barrier that Animo provided to basically guarantee the hit of that nade.
Checkmate is popping off this map, by the way. Like, he did that all by himself. You know, and you have the Animo barrier too, but 100-0? This is reverse sweepable.
Very much so. Another change up in the tanks. Mira picking up the Zaya that he was so well known for during GOAT. Someone on the Orisa. Huge amount of controllers available here, and also the ability to run down Scarippa rather easily with the Javelin.
Good Maywall from Checkmate, but even better bubble from Mirror to maybe save Aztec. No, there's no help is coming. 911 has been called, but there's nothing you can do about this. Florida with a flawless first fight. They haven't lost anyone, and with this May, they can go and, of course, cap the point, but also gatekeep the main choke.
I think that someone's played like 4 or 5 tanks in this series
or
now.
Not.
which is very impressive. Although, yeah, the choke control, I guess they don't want to play for here, which is weird with the May, but maybe they're hoping to try and bait people in and try and catch them on the escape instead.
Haha, you thought you were safe. Immortality, bubbles galore. Mirror is toast. At least he had some respawning pigs. King and Skyripper got a kill each. So you don't have RuPaul, so Florida will not be able to hold the choke again. Not like they were kind of digging it last time. Now you have King hanging around. If they stagger him, that'll hurt in the morning. Oh, that's a Javelin hit too. Oof.
Oh, that's disgusting. Let's have a quick replay of how this went down. Oh, that's environmental kill as well. You can't immo that, Lemon. You can't immo that.
Unless you can
so,
fly. He needs
no choke
wings.
again. Maybe once again we're going to see Florida Mayhem just bound on forward with a speed boost and try and catch them on the disengage with the wall again. It's the same story, Lemon.
Titans dead again. And Florida back on the choke. Ooh, Aspire's one. He's going to get chased down too. King thought he was invisible. Hydron, headshot after headshot. I'd hype it up if it wasn't just so one-sided, but Titans are one fight away from getting reverse swept.
Mira's had such a sad match thus far. He hasn't broke 2k damage yet. And we are about to finish out Lijiang Tower. It's almost full ultimates for the Florida Mayhem, and Vancouver Titans have naught but an overclock to try and break through the armored chest, the Helm's Deep of defense that Florida Mayhem have been providing again and again.
Florida just speeding in. Terra Surge, the Maywall, you're not going anywhere. Titans all 3 dead, no supports. The Blizzard is just the cherry on top for Checkmate. 90%, you had a back cap from Titans. This will buy a few more seconds. Mira is still alive. I don't think he really wants to be, so he's going to jump off the map, or Animo will serve him up. And 97%, is there anyone to touch? That is it. Florida have officially reverse swept the Vancouver Titans.
And from what low lows on Bayizu, we had to dredge them, and we were down in the pits. It was a limbo dancing contest at a geothermal power point, at a geothermal power plant levels of low for Florida Mayhem. But the reverse sweep has been so strong, and it's been led by someone who managed to diff false in the Sigma battles to begin with. on Circuit Royale. We saw the excellent setup of the dives on Coliseo, and once again, it is a story of someone, whether it be on the diving Winston or the Orisa Javelin Warlord. Someone's been the difference maker.
All it took for Florida to get back on that horse is the worst C9 I've ever seen. But man, once that brain falls out, you put it back in, and the blood starts flowing. Florida, they really rely on that someone energy, and you can tell how much it really meant to them to go back to their strength. They were known to be that dive team at the very start of the season. Went back to the tried and true. When in doubt, go back to what you're good at. And the Titans didn't have kind of that immediate diva swap. They tried from False. They brought Mirror in to play Doomfist, thought that was the key, and then Checkmate just locked him up. Mirror couldn't do anything on the Doomfist.
Like you said, Lemon, this meta appears to have a lot of room for teams to just go over to what they're good at. We've seen San Francisco Shock do it, and now it's been well served with a reverse sweep from Florida Mayhem. And I've been singing his praises, so of course he's our player of the match. Our player of the match is going to be the one and only tank of all trades, the Jota, some would say, the jack of all tanks, someone himself. And, well, that's one of the best Winston performances I've seen, but I can't help but feel that Vancouver Titans kind of missing a trick by not trying to counter it with a diva at any point was maybe a little bit of ego.
Yeah, you just, to counter a good Winston, you need a really good Zen player, a really good Sombra player, and Titans floated around different comps and tried to adapt in different ways. But the pound that happened on Coliseo, that was something else. And you got to give it all to someone. He's initiating. He has these perfect dives. I think I only counted him getting punished like 2 or 3 times. Even at parts where Florida started losing the fight, they would just leave. They had a really good understanding of this push map in particular. And it all started off kind of tripping over themselves in the Parisu to really getting a firm pep talk from the back room to someone flexing just like this on him.
It's a big flex, and yes, someone's understanding of the Winston also, of course, goes over to his bubbles. He did such a fantastic job of cutting off False from heals, knowing that there was no real mobility options available for False. If there was a bubble between himself and his Ana, either his Ana had to move or False had to move, and both of them just move at standard pace. The bubble can't be broken very easily by an Ana. And wow, for jump pack kills per 10 minutes, 12.4, those dives are coming in clutch, and he's not dying very much at all for a Winston in this meta where you are consistently going up against both hacks and Discord orbs.
Those stats speak for itself. I mean, double-digit final blows, like you said, jump pack kills, and very, very low deaths per 10. Someone is your player of the match, very obviously. The turnaround to trying to mirror what Titans were doing to going back to what they were good at. So a big congratulations to the Florida Mayhem. That's their first win of this stage. They were 0-2 before this, and every win matters to them because Florida technically, mathematically, still have a chance at the top 6, but they need to win everything from here on out. Titans don't care either way. They don't have any stakes in this match. They're officially eliminated. But we officially also have an interview with Danny and someone coming up after the break, along with some post-match analysis from the Watchpoint desk. And so he's back. Yay! So we will see you all there. Bye-bye.
Let her jump.
Oh my god.
Push.
Why are we always at the first seat, please?
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Watchpoint Post Show, everybody. I'm here joined now by someone from Florida, Mayhem. Also, he is the player of the match, so someone congratulations on winning the match and also getting the player of the match as well. And I mean, this was a reverse sweep. You guys seem to be struggling a little bit in the first half, but you guys were able to turn that around and get the win. So, you know, what gave you guys the edge today? 자, 오늘 첫 번째 질문 일단 승리를 축하드리면서 오늘 POT 받았고 너무 축하드리고요, 썸먼 선수. 일단 경기 초반에 조금 힘들어하는 모습을 보여주시다가 이제 후반에 들어가면서 다시 좀 기세를 타고 오늘 승리를 거두시게 되셨는데 오늘 역수입 좀 어떻게 이루시게 되셨나요?
저희가 일단은 솔직히 말해서 1세트 지고는 너무 1세트를 너무 이런 말 하기만 해 발려가지고 그래가지고 저희가 분위기가 좀 안 좋아졌었는데 이제 근데 2세트에서 좀 수비를 잘하고 이제 자 으쌰으쌰하고 공격을 딱 했는데 이제 거기서 C9을 하는 순간 솔직히 말해서 저는 좀 쎄했어요. 오늘 좀 지는 거 아닐까? 근데 이제 거기서 그거죠. 이제 저희는 이제 플레이-인도 준비하는 상황이고 플레이-오프도 가야 하지만 이제 이 경기를 지면 또 그게 또 힘들어질 수 있기 때문에 무조건 이겨야 한다. 딱 이 생각으로 임했는데 제가 오늘은 좀 잘해가지고 이겼던 것 같습니다.
Alright, so honestly, in map 1, I think we lost because I think we went a little bit too hard and we were a bit too aggressive. We made a little bit of problems. That was the most, I guess, problems that we had. But going into map 2, we had a good defense. And then as we all know, we had that egregious C9. So that's when I really honestly felt I had a bad feeling. And we really sort of needed this win because not only for playoffs, but we have to go into locker spots in the play-in. So it was really important to have that win. So I guess that sort of was a drive for me. And I guess honestly, at the very end though, it was because I was really good. Yeah, I mean, you were really good on multiple different tanks. And I mean, you know, I feel like, you know, Florida Mayhem is very, I mean, I guess someone like you especially, you have been so good on many different heroes, but in this current meta and in this current stage, I feel like a lot of teams have their own unique styles or like their own colors. So I want to ask you, what's Florida's uniqueness in this meta? Or I guess, what's your color for this meta? 자, 두 번째 질문은 요즘 이번 어떻게 보면 스테이지에 들어오면서 현 메타에서는 좀 굉장히 많은 팀들이 자기만의 색깔을 가지고 있는 게 되게 중요하다고 제가 보거든요. 그것 때문에 썸먼 선수가 보셨을 때는 플로리다 메이햄만의 좀 특별함, 좀 메이햄만의 색깔이 있다면 뭘까요?
이제 다른 팀들은 이제 다른 팀 개개인의 색깔이 있지만 이제 저희 팀은 이제 다른 선수들 잘하는데 이제 저가 원탱인데 제가 요즘 연습도 열심히 하고 있고 이제 탱커 같은 경우 상대팀이 이제 제가 뭘 할지 예측을 못하는 경우도 많기 때문에 이제 저와 이제 그리고 저희 딜러들의 유동성인 픽을 위해서 이용해가지고 조금 그거를 굴리면서 운영하는 게 저희의 장점인 것 같습니다.
Alright, so I guess our Florida Mayhem's color is definitely because I am the one tank and I'm the sole tank of the team, and I am practicing a lot of different heroes as well. So it's really sort of hard for a lot of our opponents to predict, you know, what our team is going to run with as for compositions because there's only one tank and there's a lot of different heroes that I could pick for the match. So I guess that is sort of our positive and that is our strength where not a lot of opponents could predict what compositions Florida Mayhem will be pulling out with. All right, that is it for the interview. Someone, thank you so much for your time. And again, big congratulations on the win. 자, 인터뷰 감사드리고 승리 축하드리면서 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Bye bye, someone. Thank you so much for joining us for a quick chat. And, ooh, Danny, that first answer I thought was never going to end. And you kept on like scribbling. Yeah. Just like, oh my God.
I was going to look for the whiteboard, the big one, to give you start writing down.
You guys should replay it. I think that was pretty spot on.
Not the two-pound horn,
if there was a world championship for translating, Danny would be in there. He'd be competing.
For a second, when you were asking him like their color, like their style, I thought he was literally going to respond pink. Yeah, I was like, oh, we're actually rocking pink for a majority of the stage.
That interview was extra hard because I see Matt in the side just going,
me?
Yeah, he was very animated, but so was someone.
Oh yeah,
like, he seemed so enthusiastic about answering. I mean, obviously I don't understand anything, but yeah, I loved it. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. No, thank you.
You guys were right on somebody achieving happiness. It just wasn't the Titans.
Well, I guess, yeah.
I don't know. Have you checked the player cams? Vancouver Titans seemed actually thrilled. I don't know why.
Happiness always wins, even
That's
if
true.
they lose a match.
It prevails.
But
But
you can be happy.
let's talk about how they got it done. Let's take a look again at some of the footage, some of the highlights, maybe some of the lowlights of that match. Reinforced, run us through it all. How did they pull off the reverse sweep?
I think when it comes down to it, like Hydron and Checkmate being able to do these dives, it's such a crazy strength for the Florida Mayhem. I think going into this season, not a lot of people would have been like, oh, the mechanical skill on the Florida Mayhem. Wow, who would have thought? But like Hydron is a really good hit scan player, and some of his like pulse bombs and stuff like that. Checkmate, his Sombra, excuse me, it's really good. Like he's able to find value with the EMPs, but then also